Y'all, it is cloudy outside today. It's only in the 80s. I mean, they were saying it's getting up to 97, 98, which is still much better than it's been being, but it is cloudy. So I'm taking advantage. I have to do a little planty chores. So, because I do have that plant swap coming up, and I need to get my plants I'm taking because I do want to downsize, and that's not going to happen if I don't have plants ready to take. So I thought I would share a little plant chores for that side hustle thing. I call it a side hustle, but if it doesn't really give you a good paycheck, is it really a side hustle or not? It's just one of my hobbies that would be awesome if it did make me some money. Okay, I have this tub. It's a clear tub, if I hadn't said that before, and you can get it at Sam's, and it's like $10, so it's pretty cheap. Let me see if I can see the size of it, because I don't remember. Here it is. It's 60 quarts for this size tub. I mean, you don't need something this big. This is my mess. When I've chopped stuff, I don't throw nothing away until it's all the way dead, like that. I'll throw those out. But if you notice, like this pink princess stem here is starting to throw out some new growth points. So there's probably roots down there I'm fixing to dig out. All these, I have some marble queen and some golden over here, and I don't know what else is still down here. Those might be the only ones growing right now. But my idea is I need to pot these up so I can take them with me. I don't think, nope, that Seva Blue didn't make it. And I need to clean this out. See, I thought that was dead, and it threw out a little growth point and had some roots, so it'll probably get tucked back in there. But I need to pot these up so I can take them. Hopefully they can find new homes. I don't know how she'll look by then. It might be October before she's looking good enough to take, but they'll look better once they get in their pot if they have roots. Because this is just, it looks dark and you can't tell, but this is just moss. Damp moss I have in here for them to root. I put the top on so it's like high humidity so they don't dry out, and they root. So that's why I have too many plants. I have several of these, and then I have glass jars everywhere full of rooted plants I need to pot up. And I only have like 3 weeks to get a lot of these ready, so thought I'd bring you along for some chores. So I'm going to see who's ready to pot up. I hope I can just put a whole bunch of stuff in 6-inch pots, because I have these little cheap nursery pots that I don't want a million little pots. Although if I get a million this size pots, that's going to be a pain too, but I'll use less if I can get them in 6 inches. Oh, I do have some Seva Blue in here. So let's see which side I'm starting on. See, this is a little too tiny, but I might stick it in a pot with somebody. That way I don't have to keep it in this, because I would like to empty this all the way out, but I'm not sure if that's going to work yet. See, here I have, can't remember if this is a golden or marble queen. I think it's a golden. It has roots. I'm gonna get some moss off here so I can pot it in a pot and see how many I can fit in one pot, because hopefully they'll be going home with someone new in a month or 2 at the most, and I'm sure they would love a full pot. They're already, you know, got roots running. So they'll be hanging soon. Some might already be hanging. But I don't know how many pots I'm going to get out of this tub. And if you want to learn how to overwhelm yourself with plants, propagate. Because it is part of my hobby. I mean, I have a hobby of just loving on my plants and repotting. And part of the hobby, I don't know if it's the same hobby or it's a whole different section, but they all go together, is making new plants out of what I got. And over here I have, I just took the top off. I still have some in here. I have my chunky soil mix that I usually use for my plants, but right now I'm going to plant a lot of those and then use some of my garden mix. Because usually when I'm getting rid of them, I don't stick with just my chunky, because some people might not want to water as often as I do. So I try to give them a little more regular soil. I'm going to see how many I can fit in here. Do I have another one? This one's golden. Let's see how huge she is. Fine in the end. I think, oh, it has a little teeny bit of a thing there. Let me break off all the... And I am outside over a area that is a bed I can throw my trash, my plant trash, down. So it can go down there instead of me having to make sure I hit everything in the trash can. I am just going to trim this back up and throw it back in the moss, because it actually threw out a little growth point. I thought it all died. But nope, there's life if you look there. Let me do this end a little better. I didn't want to have to dry it back out. Ooh, yeah, let's get rid of all the mostly dead. I'm going to go to this node. It's a little more alive. So it looks like a dead stick. There. But if you look close enough, where is it? Right here. Can you see? It's a growth point. There are three nodes. I got a node here, a node right at that growth point, and a node here. So it is going back in the moss, and it will probably eventually root if I keep it in the 100% humidity. So she's going back. I got quite a few little chunks I need to clean out here. That is all the way dead. So it's just composting in my garden bed here. There went all my cups. That one's going back down there. So I'll probably have to speed this up, because I gotta dig through here without killing anybody extra. I have another one here that will can go in the pot. Got a good root system. Let me find one more. Let me see what these chunks. And I think all these, ooh, we got roots on this one and a growth point. And that's not mushy. So this little end right here is. These are a pink princess that was really thick. So did I chop that moss pole? So this will go back in here, and I'll bury it back when I'm done digging. This is still a stick. Hadn't done nothing because it was on top too much. I'll bury it. But I'm looking for a little bit more. I think I'm in the goldens, so I'm trying to stick with goldens if possible. I do like making some Franken pots. I got a few of those already, which is just a whole bunch of different plants that like the same thing. And if I run into a lot of those, I'm going to stick them in a pot together because I'm trying to get rid of them. I haven't got myself to where I can just throw my plants away yet. But I don't know, if I keep this up with too many plants, I might have to get that way. Right now I'm just finding new homes, and I do have, well, I just pulled off all the roots. That's the one bad thing about trying to get the moss all off. Shouldn't try to get all the moss off. I'm still going to stick her in here. She has a little bit of a root, and she is a pothos. They do not mind a little bit of root. They root so well, so I am just going to get all my nodes the same level if possible. I had this little bitty one. That's the one I forgot. I'm not going to pull too much on her root. She doesn't have a lot to spare. It also kind of puts them in a little bit of a shock when you're messing with the roots too much. And if it's little, I don't want to do that. So I'm going to just get them all together at the same level if possible. Which this one will be a little harder because I got different levels. But I'm going to wrap her around to be the same level. There we go. It's not as full as I thought it was going to be, but I think that's good. For right now, let me get I need a cup that I can use for this soil over here. This is my garden bed soil, but I'm just mixing it with my chunky stuff. For pothos aren't as picky as long as you're not overwatering, which I tend to do. That's why I just go ahead and put them in the chunky stuff. But I'm just trying to get these to a new home, get them happy and growing. How'd I get you out of the dirt? We're gonna put you back in there. I didn't have this down as far as I thought I did. Okay, so I'm gonna do some of my chunky soil in here, which is very chunky. I need to add some more peat moss or something in here, cocoa core, because unless I'm doing my big huge plants, it doesn't have to be that chunky. I just hadn't messed with it enough right now to adjust well. But I want to get these done so I have this pot out of this container out of the way for propagations, because when I get back to doing mine that I'm keeping, I'm chopping a whole bunch, and I want to have the prop box done for that, so I don't have more prop boxes. I'm just adding to this one, starting it over with new stuff, because like I said, I need to downsize. Spending too much time overwhelmed with all my plants, and what's made me sad is I have some beautiful blooming Hoya which are tucked behind other plants. So when my plants are performing really well, if I have too many plants going on, I don't always see it or enjoy it as much as if it had its own spot out in the open. And that's what I want to get back to. That's when I was enjoying my plants the most. So I am gonna get them back there to where my plants I'm keeping are like one level. I don't got them all tucked behind each other just to fit them in. And I get to enjoy the whole plant. Is my goal. We shall see if I manage to do that, because that means I have to rehome all these. And if I don't find homes for them, like I said, I can't just throw them away. I will take the plants that don't find homes to our swap and just give them away, but since I'm doing the swap, any plants that people don't pick or take, I end up taking home. And that's another reason why I have so many plants. But this girl right here is done, and I will water her as I'm watering all of them in a few minutes when they're potted up. I'm not going to water in between each one, or I'm going to take too long doing this. I'm going to take too long doing this as it is. Get them all in here together to make a pretty pot when they start growing. Because I do enjoy some mixed pots. Now if I'm doing like a moss pole or something, I want one plant. Although I might change my mind on that. If I had a big enough pot that it could support more. But I usually, when I do a moss pole, I just have one growth point of one plant on there so it can size up. And I'm going to downsize my moss poles because they're the worst work. And I've had several moss poles that don't think it was worth the trouble of having certain ones on a moss pole, because for one, they either don't size up much or they don't impress me enough in their bigger size. So it's like I don't enjoy them as much as some other ones that change a whole bunch when they get sized up. So what's the reason to spend all that time and space on them? If I'd rather have them crawling and vining, I'll do that. And that's not something I did last year. I was putting everything on a moss pole. I got too many moss poles. So we're not doing that this year. I'm going to have less moss poles. That's the goal. Can I reach that goal? We shall see. If I stick to it, or I find more stuff that I just want to size up. I mean, I have a few plants that I just like big. Like the Monstera Addisonii. She just does not trail well. But she sizes up fast and she's gorgeous. So, one more pot. So she will always be, I guess, one of my moss poles. And who does not love like your epiprimnum variegated plants? Because the leaves are so much prettier when they are sized up and fenestrated. You can have pots and they'll just look like the other pothos with a little slit or something here and there, but they're so pretty when they size up. So I always have some of them on a pole. We'll see who else. I mean, I love the Mondula both ways, and I'm going to have that. And I don't have a marble queen on a moss pole. My golden's beautiful on a moss pole, but she's pretty both ways, so we'll see who I end up this year. I might change my mind by next spring. Okay. All these little pots here I just potted up. And I do have some other pots that I did recently that are all Frankens, but I'm fixing to water all these. And I did add some more moss to what I left in here. And I'm going to put the top back on. The Pink Princess, she's got some roots, but I'm going to let her new growth come up first, because she's got these little shoots. I want them to come up good. This one hadn't done a lot. It's got a little new shoot, but it just has a few roots, so they're staying in there. There's another one. I stuck some coleth in there because it was bent over. So I'm going to water this a little better to get it moist again and put the top back on until I get to mess with it again, because I have glass jars everywhere. But I got 5 new pots out of that tub this time. So that's awesome. I don't know what's on my camera, but that's where we are right now. A lot of these still got to be cut, trimmed, and thrown in the pot.